Hey there, welcome back. Yesterday was all about sketching new ideas, but today we're going to mine some of the art that you already have. If your camera roll, sketchbooks, or Procreate or Affinity Designer galleries are full of half-finished drawings or forgotten little gems, this is the day to pull them out. We'll take that existing artwork, combine it with text frames, and suddenly you'll have polished, ready-to-go design without starting from scratch. It's like giving your past work a whole new life. Keep it fun, keep it light, and let's see how many cards you can come up with what you already own. I hope you found the thumbnail sketches a helpful way to explore your ideas and speed up your design process. Today we're focusing on reusing your existing art to create new cards. Don't worry, this doesn't mean you can't experiment or try new things. It just means you're working smarter, taking art you've already made and finding fresh ways to use it. I'm going to show you how I mine my pieces from previous work. I'm going to gather what suits my card designs, and I'm going to pair these elements with text frames to make polished designs really quickly. This is a great technique. Frames are simple yet powerful tools that help pull the message forward while allowing your artwork to really stand out. You'll also get a download today with some typographic tips to make your text placement cleaner and more attractive. Once you're comfortable with all that, it's just a matter of keeping the process flowing, trying different arrangements, and seeing what looks best. I've supplied you with a bunch of downloadable assets, just a small pack. If you are still interested, you can upgrade to VIP, and in the VIP, you get a huge stamp set, a whole bunch of editable templates, and some sentiments that you can put in, some quotes, plus a whole bunch of other goodies like templates that you can work with. Tomorrow, we're going to cover custom art and lettering for extra creative freedom. So today we're talking a little bit about reusing artwork that you have in existence. As I scroll through my gallery here, I'm checking for something that might be suitable without doing too much extra work to it, just so I could demonstrate this to you quickly today. This one might work and this one might work as they're already formatted in portrait layout. So chances are I could probably use something like this quite easily for today's demonstration. Taking a look here, I mean, it's got a ton of layers. So I think what I would want to do is duplicate it and then flatten it. So I'm going to go back to my gallery, and I find it easiest at this point to create a blank 5x7 document. So I'm going to go into my settings here. If you haven't got a pre-made setting, you can add one here. You can put in your width and height. I am going to use my preset, which is this one here. So now I've got a blank document that will be ready to receive the artwork. I've already got it here duplicated. So I would open this one up. I like doing it on a duplicate because you just never know. I mean, the original might be something that I would use at a different time and I would still need to have in layers. So I don't want to flatten my original. I always duplicate. And in this case, we can go to copy canvas and go to our document, 3-finger swipe down and paste. There you go. It's all flattened into one layer, but all of the blend modes were applied. So that was kind of good. Now to make sure that it fits, you can enlarge it. Right now I'm on uniform. If I wanted to make sure that it was, just kind of fitting without cutting anything off, I could do this. I'm overlapping a tiny bit out of the image area because I think that helps me to bring this flower a little bit more to the outside, which I think will work better with the text frame. And I'm ready now to start playing around with my text frames. So I've got all my text frames loaded here. I've given you a couple that you can use. Anybody who's in the VIP gets the full set. And I've ended up with 30 frames. I started out with, I was just going to have 20, first of all, 10, and then I went to 20. And then in the end, I ended up creating 30 of them in total. So you get lots of text frames here. And, you can scroll through and kind of decide which sort of a shape that you want. And I know I kind of want like a tall vertical shape. And I like this one because it's got a little bit of a heavier frame to it. So I'm going to make sure that I add a layer here. And I'm thinking this brown would be a good color. So I've sampled that brown. I'm on a new layer and I'm going to go quite large and I'm going to stamp just like that. That's not the frame I wanted. This is the one I wanted. Okay, so I'm going to go as large as I can. If this still isn't large enough, if you find that you're having to enlarge it a lot, go into the brush itself, go to properties, and just bring these sliders up a little bit, because once you stamp it, you're not going to want to make it any bigger. You don't want to do that because it's going to kind of distort the edges. So I'm just kind of resizing it a little bit here, smaller. Smaller is usually okay, and make sure you have it on bicubic here. And I'm going to put snapping on so that I can make sure that I center this frame. So I know that it's centered when I get that gold line, and I'm going to go a little bit higher than center. If I was to have it perfectly centered top to bottom, it actually has a bit of an optical illusion where it looks like there's less space here than there is here. So I'm kind of just moving it up a little bit, and then I'm just going to double check that I've got it centered. I always want to see that orange line there. And what I'm going to do next is to fill this frame with a very light color. That'll be a nice backdrop for my lettering. I don't, however, want it to be all on the same layer because I want to be able to add a little bit of transparency to what I do there. So I'm going to take the automatic selection and I'm going to select within the frame. You can take color fill off and then you just get that blue for selecting. So I'm going to do that again. Automatic selection, I'm going to drag, and I am dragging until I see the background fill, and then I just back up a little bit. So now this area is selected. I'm going to go below the frame and I'm going to add another layer, and then this is what I'm going to fill. So again, you can sample a color from within your own canvas. I'm going to maybe grab this really light blue that's in the background here, and then I'm going to simply color drop to fill it. So I was saying what I wanted to do is kind of lighten that a little bit so that a little bit of the flowers and stuff show through. So I'm going to go and reduce the opacity. And you can see here now that my flowers are kind of showing through. I never go any lower than 85 to 90%. So I'm going to probably land here at 90%. And I like that. That's really nice. It's definitely coordinated with the rest of the card, and it now gives me a really nice spot to put my typography, which I'm going to use my stamps to do today. So I have a full set of sentiment stamps. Again, I think there's 30 brushes here, including some hand lettering brushes that you could use. I think I'm going to grab a Mother's Day grouping here. I like that one. I do like this Best Mom Ever too. That's really cute. And I am going to sample that really dark brown. So the darkest brown here, I'm going to make sure that I'm above the frame layer. Again, I've got my brush set quite large, and I'm just going to stamp in my text. Again, if it's too small, I'm just going to definitely undo that. And I'm going to go into the properties here and enlarge. I have them kind of small so that you'll be able to see them in the brush set here, but when I go to use them, I definitely make them bigger. The originals for these brushes were 10 by 10, so I know that the quality is really good, and I'm going to stamp in that lettering, and just like that, I have completed my first card. This would be perfectly good as is to now put onto a POD site or to have printed. There's a few things you could do to make it even look better. I am going to be covering that in the live sessions. One of the things I would do is likely put a little bit of a white border around the text frame. You could add things like a drop shadow behind your lettering. You could also consider going in and adding some additional imagery if you feel like there's blank areas, something you want to fill. You could add another layer. I could go down to my line art flowers that I have created in the past, and I could add a new layer, sample a color that's already in my artwork. I could add that in. I would probably, with the automatic selection, select the background around the flower, then select inverse, make another layer below, and possibly fill. These are all little things that you can do to dress up your art, but just know that at this point, you've got exactly what you need as is to flatten and upload to a POD site, okay? So that's all I'm covering in this part of the class. For the VIP sessions, you will get additional information on how I would go about dressing out this card. To export and have it ready to upload at this point, because it's in layers, you would not be able to use this artwork. You would have to go to share. You could share it as a JPEG, choose a spot to save it in. I'm going to be saving it into my demos folder, and that's that.